Welcome back to Tales Recapped. Today we will be going over comedy called Nanny McPhee, released in 2005. Watch out and take care. The movie is set in Victorian Britain and it revolves around a widowed undertaker named Cedric Brown, who is the father of 7 unruly children: Simon, Tora, Eric, Lily, Sebastian, Chrissy, and baby Aggie. He is clumsy and loves his children, but since the death of his wife, has spent little time with them and cannot handle them. The children have had a series of nannies, whom they have systematically driven out with their bad behavior and pranks. They also take great pleasure in tormenting their cook, Mrs. Blatherwick, a former military cook. Mrs. Blatherwick famously likes to say that it will snow in August before the family becomes a normal one. Besides their father, the only one the children will ever listen to is Evangeline, the family's uneducated but sweet-natured scullery maid. After the children chase their latest nanny, Cedric goes to the job agency to find a new nanny. However, fed up with his children's antics, the agency refuses to even let him into the building. Dejected, as Cedric proceeds to return home, someone from inside the agency whispers to him that the only person who can help him is someone called Nanny McPhee. However, they do not tell Cedric where to find her. When Cedric returns home, he orders his children to go to bed without supper. In their room, they wreak havoc and Evangeline is forced to go and entertain them. She reads them a story of the daughter of a nice man who remarries after his wife's death, and her stepmother is horrible to her. When one of his sisters asks why the girl's father stops the stepmother from being bad to his children, Simon responds that the father turns bad after their wives die, and they stop caring about their children, insinuating that Cedric has stopped caring about his children after his wife's death. Evangeline tries to defend Cedric, but Simon retorts that Cedric has stopped reading stories to little Chrissy or play cricket with them like he used to. He also no longer sings lullabies to baby Aggie. Evangeline argues that Cedric still loves them and it's just that he has a lot in his mind right since their mother's death. He accuses him of trying to find a new nice wife. The children believe that all stepmothers are terrible women who treat their stepchildren like slaves. It turns out the family is financially supported by Cedric's domineering and short-sighted aunt-in-law Lady Adelaide Stitch. She has threatened to reduce the family to poverty unless Cedric remarried within the month. Cedric has unwillingly agreed to Lady Adelaide's condition, as without her financial backing, the family would lose the house, and Cedric will be sent to debtor's prison while the children will be sent off to workhouse. Despite being grounded, the children make their way to the kitchen and take out the cook and wreak havoc. Upon hearing the commotion, Evangeline and Cedric make their way to the kitchen when they notice a frightening female figure outside his door. Cedric sends Evangeline to be with the children while he nervously answers the door. On the porch stands a hideous woman, who introduces herself as Nanny McPhee. Cedric is a little frightened by her looks, but he has no choice but to welcome her to look after his unruly children. Nanny McPhee asks to meet the children and heads straight to the kitchen. She orders the children to drop everything and return to their room. However, the kids laugh her off until she pulls out her stick and bangs it on the kitchen floor. It turns out the nanny's stick has magical power, which makes the kids involuntarily clean the kitchen and cook the supper. The children begin to panic as they have lost control over their bodies. Simon regrets messing with her and asks her to let them go to bed. However, Nanny McPhee refuses to oblige until Simon politely makes the request. Simon initially refuses to say please, but his siblings force him to concede and he eventually relents. Nanny McPhee accepts Simon's polite requests and brings everything to a halt by banging her stick on the floor again. Back in their room, the older children brush their teeth as baby Aggie plays with his beloved rattle, which was given to her by his late mother. Upon seeing his siblings obey Nanny McPhee's orders, Simon reminds them that they have gotten rid of 17 nannies so far, and he will soon chase Nanny McPhee out of the house. When she checks up on the kids before bed, they try to prank her by telling her their wrong names, but she outsmarts them and puts them to bed. Before leaving, she tells the children that, when you need me, but do not want me, then I must stay. When you want me, but no longer need me, then I have to go. Simon shouts that they will never want her, but she quickly retorts that then she will never go. She then informs Cedric that his children have gone to bed, much to his disbelief. Cedric wonders what she wants in return for being a nanny to his children. Nanny McPhee tells him that she wants to teach his children 5 lessons. Lesson 1, to go to bed when they're told is complete. Moreover, she tells him that she wants Sunday afternoons off. Strangely, one of Nanny McPhee's facial defects magically disappears. The next day, the children pretend to be sick and refuse to get out of bed. However, Nanny McPhee quickly teaches them a lesson by binding them to their beds using her magic, and feeds them bitter medicine, making them instantly regret their act. Meanwhile, during her free time, Nanny McPhee gets to know more about Evangeline and Mrs. Blatherwick. It's revealed that Evangeline is really insecure about her illiteracy, and Lily's teaching her how to read. That night, Nanny McPhee continues to be strict with the children, feeding them a broth of vegetable peels. At work, Cedric gets another letter from his aunt, who reminds him about the approaching deadline before which he must remarry. Desperate, Cedric decides to approach his former client, Mrs. Selma Quickly. Mrs. Quickly is a widow and she has propositioned Cedric many times, but until now he had always turned her down. After being fed bitter medicine and peel soup for dinner, the children drop their act by the next morning and behave themselves. Cedric is surprised to see them be so calm and polite. Suddenly, an overgrown wart on Nanny McPhee's face disappears. It turns out each time the children learn a lesson, one of Nanny McPhee's facial defects magically disappears. Later that day, Cedric informs everyone that Aunt Adelaide is coming over for tea the next day, much to the disappointment of his children who call her vile and vicious. Cedric seeks Nanny McPhee's help in keeping the children in their best behaviors. However, she reminds him that it is Sunday tomorrow, the only day of the week when Nanny McPhee takes a break. Later, during the tea, Aunt Adelaide reiterates that Cedric has more children than he can handle and demands custody over one of them. She first wants second youngest daughter Chrissy. The children panic and try to scare Aunt Adelaide away, but without success. Left with no choice, they seek Nanny McPhee's help. Nanny McPhee agrees to help them and sends Evangeline with Adelaide as Cedric's daughter. Thanks to the nanny's magic, Aunt Adelaide sees Evangeline as a little girl. This makes the children respect Nanny McPhee. Over time, the children become more responsible, helping their clumsy father in solving the family problems, making Nanny McPhee less and less needed. Cedric thanks Nanny McPhee for saving his family, but he also expresses concern for Evangeline, and Nanny McPhee assures him that Evangeline would be alright because she would now get a chance at education. Cedric also hears back from Mrs. Quickly, and it's revealed that she has agreed to meet him. The children assume from reading fairy tales that like all stepmothers, Mrs. Quickly must be horrible, and they request Nanny McPhee to help them get rid of her. However, Nanny McPhee refuses to intervene in the matters of heart. However, she agrees to turn a blind eye should the children try to get rid of their would-be stepmother. With no one to stop them, the children play pranks after pranks on Mrs. Quickly during her visit, causing her to leave, angry at Cedric. Left with no choice, Cedric finally sits everyone down and tells them that he only wants to get married because of the condition put forth by Aunt Adelaide. He further explains that if he fails to fulfill her condition, the family will lose their house and the children will be sent to workhouses. The children realize their mistake, and on Nanny McPhee's advice, the children appease Mrs. Quickly by confessing they were to blame for ruining her visit. Mrs. Quickly, intrigued when she hears about Adelaide's wealth and status, reconciles with Cedric and agrees to marry him. However, the children soon discover that Mrs. Quickly is just as cruel and awful as any fairytale stepmother. Before the wedding, Mrs. Quickly warns the children that she is in charge of the household now, and they must learn to behave. She also deliberately breaks baby Aggie's beloved rattle. Aunt Adelaide arrives for the wedding with her adopted daughter Evangeline, and everyone, including Cedric, is awed by her stunning transformation. Evangeline congratulates Cedric on the wedding, and it's clear that the two have some sort of tension between them. Later, as Cedric and Mrs. Quickly read their vows, Simon comes up with a plan with the help of Nanny McPhee. They disrupt the ceremony by pretending there are bees, chasing the guests, and starting a food fight using the pastries intended for the banquet. Cedric swiftly understands his children do not like the bride. He also recognizes that she is not right for him or his children, so he joins in the commotion himself. This infuriates Mrs. Quickly, and she calls off the marriage before storming off in anger. When it seems that Adelaide's marriage deadline is missed, Lily suggests that Cedric marry Evangeline. The other children reveal to Adelaide that she is not, in fact, their sister. Evangeline and Cedric resist at first, but then realize their feelings for each other. They agree to marry, satisfying Aunt Adelaide's conditions for maintaining her financial support. After teaching the children all the lessons, Nanny McPhee has now become a beautiful woman. She magically makes it snow in August and transforms the wedding scene, changing Evangeline's clothes into a beautiful wedding dress. She also restores the children's late mother's rattle for them. Nanny McPhee then leaves surreptitiously, in accordance with what she told the children before on her first night. Subscribe and hit that like button to help our channel grow. Turn the notifications on so you won't miss any of our new videos. Thanks for watching.